All right, mega fans, it is showdown time. We are putting an Elvis Costello co-write against a Jeff Lynne production with a guest spot from Ringo. So, what are they, and which will win today's song war? Let's find out. Hey, and welcome. I am JSB, and not that way, that way is Bostart. And today we are doing a Paul McCartney song war. Yes, we are. Um, Now, because I'm a nerd and particularly a chart geek, I am featuring as many songs in 2025 as I can that reached number 25 in the charts. Now, with Sir Paul, I've already done I've Had Enough from Wings, but he also had some solo numbers reach this peak. So, Bostart, do you want to let folks know which songs we are going to be checking out today?
Okay, well, first we'll be doing My Brave Face from 1989, which trailered Paul's album Flowers in the Dirt, which was his big return to form album that year after a few years of stuff like The Frog Chorus and Give My Regards to Broad Street that weren't so popular. And for the second one, we're doing Beautiful Night, which comes from the 1997 album Flaming Pie. I'll tell you a bit more about those as we go along.
Magnificent. So, and fun, we are indeed going to make this a song war, so we will hear both tunes and then pick our favourite and ask you to do the same. So, Bostart has previously helped me out with Queen and Eric Clapton song wars on a similar theme, so we know that these are fun to do and hopefully fun for you to watch as well. And if they are, do smash that like button. Ta. So yeah, as Bostart said, we will start with My Brave Face, which opens this album, and it sounds like this.
My brave, my brave, my brave face. I've been living in style, unaccustomed as I am to the luxury life. I've been hitting the town and it didn't hit back. I've been doing the rounds, unaccustomed as I am to the time on my hands. Now I don't have to tell anybody when I'm gonna get back. Ever since you went away, I've had this sentimental inclination not to change a single thing. As I pull the sheet back on the bed, I wanna go bury my head in your pillow. Now that I'm alone again, I can't stop breaking down again. Simplest things set me off again. Take me to that place where I can find my brave face. Where I can find my brave face. My brave, my brave, my brave face. My brave face. I've been living a life, unaccustomed as I am to the work of a housewife. I've been breaking up daddy dishes and been throwing them away. Ever since you left, I've been trying to compose it, baby. Will you please come home? Note meant for you. As I clear away another untouched TV dinner from the table, I'm late for two. Now that I'm alone again, I can't stop breaking down again. The simplest things set me off again. Take me to that place where I can find my brave face. Where I can find my brave face. My brave, my brave, my brave face. My brave
All right, so now I will mention that one actually reached number 18 in the UK, but for the purposes of today, the fact that it made number 25 in the US is what its spot. But Bostart, would you care to let folks know the significance of that wee chart fact, as well as any other facts or opinions you'd care to offer?
I don't know much about the chart fact per se, but I can tell you that, as I mentioned before, that came from the Flowers in the Dirt album, which was the big return to form. A lot of artists, as I said last week, did albums in 1989 that were considered like their big returns to form because they stopped trying to sound like the 80s and went back to just sound themselves again. And that's a classic example. And Flowers in the Dirt is, and especially that single, it actually sounds like something by the Beatles, which you can't really say about anything Paul had done this side of their disbandment up till then. And he'd obviously he wasn't relying on Rupert Bear or songs about puppy dog tales in the House of Lords or anything like that anymore. He was starting to sound like an artist who could really rock. And in reaction to it, he actually put a band together and went on tour. And a lot of Beatles songs got played live by him for the first time ever. And the two guitarists from the tour band are actually both on that record, Hamish Stewart from the Average White Band and Robbie McIntosh. And also the guy, Chris Whitten, on drums, became the drummer for that tour.
So I mentioned I was sure you were going to know this, that My Brave Face would actually turn out to be the last solo top 40 hit by any Beatle.
In America?
Yes, indeed. In America, yeah. I mean, that's where it counts. Nobody cares about UK charts, although we do in a moment. But yeah, I mean, it's also an interesting time period because George had just had some pretty significant success with his Cloud9 album and Got My Mind Set on You, and then the Wilburys. Do you think Paul was sort of wanting a piece of that?
I hadn't thought of it like that. Yeah, maybe he was, but I think he sort of knew after Press to Play that he was in a bit of a trough. He knew he had to get on with it, but the seeds were sown probably back in 1987. He made an album that wasn't released called Return to Pepperland. Don't be too disappointed because most of its tracks showed up elsewhere. And Once Upon a Long Ago, which got included on All the Best, was meant for that album. And on the B side of Once Upon a Long Ago, from the end of 1987, you have a song called Back on My Feet, which was actually the first McCartney-McManus collaboration. Declan McManus is Elvis Costello's real name, if you don't know.
Of course. Yeah, so for me, that was my first time hearing this version because I've literally just picked up a copy of this in a charity shop hall a few weeks ago, but haven't got around to playing it. But you mentioned the live tour that followed this album, and that resulted in Tripping the Live Fantastic, which was a double CD, which I never got, but I did get as one of my first CDs ever, the stripped back one disc version, which was Tripping the Live Fantastic Highlights, which included a live version of My Brave Face on it. So that's where I knew that from. So I hadn't heard the song in any form in I don't know how many decades, and I'd never heard the studio version. So I was a little bit trepidatious, is that a word? I don't know. Going into it, because sometimes when I know a great live version of a song, the studio version can be a bit flat by comparison. But I didn't find that to be the case. Yeah, I always liked the song, and this version ticks the boxes for me. So it's going to give Beautiful Night some tough competition. But on that note, let's move to that track, which, as I say, I've not heard this one in any form at all. It's Beautiful Night from Flaming Pie, and we mentioned earlier this has Jeff Lynne co-producing it and Paul's old bandmate Ringo on drums and vocals. So very much looking forward to this. This is going to be my first listen to Beautiful Night, and it sounds like this.
Someone's gone out fishing, someone's high and dry, someone's on a mission to the lonely Lorelei. Some folks got a vision of a castle in the sky, and I'm left stranded, wondering why. You and me together, nothing feels so good. Even if I get a medal from a local neighborhood, I won't need a castle, they got castles in Versailles. And I'm still stranded, wondering why. Make it a beautiful night for me. It's a beautiful night for love. A wonderful sight for lovers of love to behold. Make it a beautiful night for me. It's a beautiful night for love. A wonderful sight for lovers of love to behold. Some boats on the ocean, we here in this room. Seems to me the perfect way to spend an afternoon. We can look for castles, pretty castles in the sky. No more wondering, wondering why. Things can go wrong, things can go right, things can go bump in the dead of the night. So let me be there, let me be there, let me be there with you in the dead of the night. Make it a beautiful night for me. It's a beautiful night for love. A wonderful sight for lovers of love to behold. Make it a beautiful night for me. Such a beautiful night for love. Such a wonderful sight for lovers of love to behold. Yeah, it's a beautiful night. Well, it's a beautiful night.
Alrighty then. All right, so that was Beautiful Night. Most I will hand it over to you again to share your thoughts and or facts on that particular piece.
Well, to me, that's one of the most poignant tracks Paul ever recorded, for reasons I'll get to. It was originally recorded 10 years before, but not released, and this remake, as we said, comes from Flaming Pie, and Flaming Pie was an album that Jeff Lynne co-produced when he and Paul were both fresh off the Beatles anthology project. Paul wrote in the sleeve notes to that album he wanted to just get back to having some fun like he did with the Beatles, and it certainly sounds like he did. And the lineup on that track is really a huge old gang reunion. Yeah, you've heard Ringo's there, but George Martin did the orchestral arrangement, who was the Beatles producer, and Jeff Emerick, who engineered near enough everything from Revolver onwards, was audio engineer for the recording of the strings. And well, the most poignant fact of all is it's one of the last recordings, if not the last, to feature Linda McCartney, who's on backing vocals here, and the video was her last filmed appearance. They knew she didn't have long by then, and she, of course, died of cancer in 1998.
Yeah, I've always had a soft spot for Linda, and she got an awful lot of bad press in her time, mainly for the fact that she was with Paul and nobody else was, rather than anything that she'd actually done. And now I think people are starting to realise that we all kind of miss her a bit.
Do you think she got as much bad press as Yoko?
Well, not as much as Yoko. That's a different level. Her and Paul is one of the great love story successes of popular culture anywhere. There's very few people who've lasted in the limelight like they did for, right up to the very end, obviously. And yeah, as you say, it's a poignant track because of that. And I also, from my point of view, not having heard it before, I love it when the track starts off as one thing and then takes you to a completely different place, because we got kind of to the end, or what I thought was the end of the song. I said, oh, that's really pleasant. And then it kicks in and it goes up a gear with the coda. And I mean, it's not a particularly deep coda, but it's good fun. Like you said, it sounds like he's having a good time in the studio again. A really nice track. And the third single from the album, and like the others, really didn't do anything in America, but the album, I think, did do fairly well and was quite well regarded, if I remember rightly. It was actually number 2, both sides of the UK, whereas from memory, and I'm not going to check this, but I think Flowers in the Dirt only did something like 21 in the US. So again, you're coming off a lot of the goodwill of the anthology project. So the Beatles were kind of back in vogue, if they were ever not in vogue, but they had a lot of publicity around the mid-90s, and this kind of rode that wave a bit. Do you think that project also made the involvement of Ringo on this track a natural thing after so many years of them not working together?
I think very much so, although, to be fair, it wasn't the first time they'd worked together since the Beatles. Ringo played on a couple of Paul's 80s albums, Tug of War, Pipes of Peace. After all the fallout with Paul with the breakup, Ringo was the first one to sort of professionally extend the olive branch, and Paul contributed a couple of songs to Ringo's albums in the 70s, which he played on as well.
Now that will take us to the fact that this is a song war, and we have to choose a favourite from those two. So again, my guest is the honour of, or the dishonour, I'm not sure, one of the two, of going first. So Bosart, which of these two is going to win it for you, and why?
It's got to be Beautiful Night for me, because it's just, well, for all the reasons I described earlier, really. It's a beautiful song, and it's you could just feel the poignancy echoing right through it, like maybe they know that they're not going to all do this together again, and particularly not with Linda.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, for me, slightly weird one, this, because given that I know one of the songs so much better than the other, it's our old friend familiarity bias coming into play again. So much as I enjoy Beautiful Night, I'm going to have to give the win personally to My Brave Face, which is, I think, a cracking song that should have done a fair bit better than it did in the charts. But yeah, there we are. It's a vote each from us. So that leaves it to you out there to break the tie, so to speak, and let us know your favourites. No wrong answers as ever. Let us know what you thought of both of these songs and which of them you would call your favourite of the two. While I was prepping for this video, I belatedly noticed, and I'm not sure how I had missed this earlier, but to my annoyance, Paul has got another solo song that reached 25 in the UK. Bosart, if I pressed you, would you be able to tell me what one that was?
And, yes, I mentioned the not very popular Press to Play album, and it was the song called Press, which is actually the first single from there.
Yeah. So likewise, if you out there press me to do so, I might do a separate video on that another time. Actually, there's a Beatles song that reached 25 in the US as well, which there's so many Beatles-related tracks and so little time to do them all. Anyway, that's it for today. But if you would like to see what I made of my first listen to the Wings track that hit number 25, you can head, I don't know, somewhere in the middle of the screen, and hopefully that will be there for you to click on. Meanwhile, a big thanks again to Bosart for joining me for this. A big thanks to you for watching, and it's bye for now, but not for long.
It's the end. But the moment has been prepared for.